Welcome everybody back to another Permadirt and Friends review. Holy cow, we got through the entrance this time without Ostrich talking. Just kidding. You guys won't understand on YouTube what that is, but those of you checking out live, you will over here on
Hi.
Permadirt Gaming on the old Twitch. And and to my screen left, my right, you'll see Poka_TTV, the PvPvE king of Tarkov, the problematic Tarkov. I'm coming out of different ways to make fun of this game. If you like it, that's great. That's great, I guess. You know, what's the update on that game this week?
Bad.
Still in a bad state, huh?
Still in a bad state. Nothing.
Yep, still in a bad. Well, I mean, it can only go up from here then, right? So they say.
I guess.
So they say. On the other side here, you see Ostrichwrangler 1, often known as just Ostrich, because he is the ostrich guy. Proud owner of a brand new TV. How's it going over there?
I don't have a new TV. Please, nobody steal it.
Oh, he also lives in Guadalajara. If anyone is curious, that's why he's always so tanned.
Yep.
Um,
Things are good over here. Yeah, I had fun. Having an okay week.
You had fun? You had fun with the last episode?
I did.
Had fun with new technology and a new episode? Man, can only imagine. Can only imagine. All right, so before we get started here, quick housekeeping. If you are all interested in catching the rest of the stuff, maybe you found this later on and you're like, hey, I want to see what the rest of these reviews are all about. Go to that Permadirt Gaming YouTube link. You can go to Twitter as well, find me at Permadirt Gaming, and I mean, there's always a Discord. And if you want, check these boys out. They have Twitches, they have TikToks, and they have all sorts of things. So just Google them. Just Google them. Just don't come looking for Ostrich's Not New TV.
Yep. Or a stream
correct.
anytime soon.
Or a stream anytime soon. Not even Hogwarts. Not even Hogwarts.
Not even Hogwarts.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
All
right, folks. So it comes with great sadness that we have to talk about the final episode of season 1. Probably not going to see another show from this series for probably 2 years at least. What are we, 2023? Probably 2020, late 2024 at best.
Yeah.
So it's sad. It'll be the last one for a bit, but it's also, I mean, it's also The Last of Us. So you can't be sad. Great TV. Here we go. Episode 9. Once again, directed by Ali Abbasi. I guess I still messed that up. Didn't practice that at all. And written by Craig and Neil, this one. So the two big brains come together to write the final episode. And it only seems fitting. It only seems fitting they both get a piece of this one. So it opens up on Ashley Johnson. So for those who don't know who Ashley Johnson is a person who you might know from the video games as Ellie. Ashley Johnson plays Ellie. So that's kind of her cameo. We've got cameos from all major players so far, you know, voice actors, actresses, whatever. And yeah. So this is her cameo right here. She's running through the woods looking very pregnant and being scared of whatever's chasing her. You get the odd sound drop in the background, which I kind of liked. It was kind of like, ooh, what's she running from? Something very scary. I mean, we can assume what it is at this point, but we knew it was something scary. She runs into an old farmhouse. This farmhouse, I thought at first looked a little reminiscent of something that we might see in The Last of Us Part 2 at first. But after I looked at it a little closer, I'm like, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe I was reading too much into it. But I just want that to be on record going forward.
That you.
Do you know what I mean? You guys both know what I mean?
You're like, check the tape.
Yeah, exactly. Check the tape. It'll be right there. She runs into this old farmhouse. And I thought, honestly, someone was watching her. Do you guys get that vibe? Because there's one thing here where it's like looking through almost like an old telescope thing. It's like it had a weird, dirty like ring about it. Did you guys see that? I honestly thought there was going to be someone in there. It looked like you know, if on we play Sea of Thieves and you have like the old, and it has a kind of like optical ring thing about it.
Yeah.
It had like that. I thought, oh, someone's like watching her, but it turns out that no, there is nobody in this house. So whatever, I was wrong. She walks upstairs, and of course her water is just exploded. She's gonna have this baby. This baby is on the way. Meanwhile, we have this infected thing out that should probably, we don't know what it is exactly, but screaming somewhere out in the distance. They show the knife that Ellie has, so you know right away you're making connections here. Um, the infected gets closer and closer. At this time, she has barricaded herself inside the door. And has goes and sits down against the wall. It gets closer, it starts smashing against the door. It comes in and attacks her. She kind of fends it off. Eventually, she started having such like labor pains that she drops her knife, which I'm like, no, don't do that, don't do that. But she did do that, and this thing comes in and attacks her and just friggin' like on all fours, like a possessed.
It was cool.
It's kind of creepy, man. It's
I
kind of creepy
I
the
was wrong.
way they make a move.
I said that in the
Yeah,
last episode that would be the last zombie we see, and we saw this one. So it's kind of
yep.
cheating because it's a flashback, but whatever.
No, it's not cheating. You lose. That's how that works.
You're a loser.
You're a loser. No. So she has this knife, and she's fighting off this infected, and so she ends up reaching her knife, stabbing this thing like 1,000 times. It dies. And then she looks down and realizes, holy cow, during all that fighting, I gave birth.
It's that easy.
Is that
I
easy?
mean, I don't want to say that's my experience with my family, but I mean, power to her.
I'm
Power to her. That was
yeah, I'm kind of treating it like when someone scares you and you accidentally fart. Same kind of
Yeah,
thing.
it
Someone
just
scares
oh
you.
yeah. Yeah. When someone you get a good scare and a little scare fart.
little
Yeah.
scare fart.
A little toot.
But I mean, if there's a zombie blasting through a door on all fours at me, that baby's coming flying out. So
Fair enough. So she ends up killing a zombie, realizes the baby's on the ground. She then looks down at her leg and realizes she has indeed been bit. Which definitely is a bummer, but we assumed it was going to happen. So at this point, she realizes, holy cow, if I cut the cord, maybe the baby won't get infected. So she cuts the umbilical cord as fast as possible, and quickly cuts the cord. And my takeaway from this scene was, one, it was weird as Ashley Johnson playing Ellie's mom, because all of her groans and everything sound exactly like
That's
Ellie.
funny.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
yeah,
actually
It
yeah.
made the
became a
connection until halfway through the scene. Took me a
oh
little
really?
while. Yeah.
I knew who she was, obviously, and then but like I was sitting there and I'm like, holy cow, this sounds identical. Like, you know, some actors, and like Troy Baker doesn't sound like Joel. He
Right.
creates the Joel voice, right?
Yeah.
So when he talks, it sounds different. That's literally her voice. That's literally like her voice is Ellie. Like she's not. I don't think she's doing anything. Like all her little grunts and like and like all these like giving birth and fighting and like all this stuff is just literally Ellie. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Are you saying she's not
Um,
acting?
no, I'm saying she's just using, yeah, and she's not acting her voice. It's just natural. Um, I also put here, and I mean, we learn a little bit later. I said, could this be the reason behind the immunity?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously she gets bit. This part right here was never in the game.
Right.
I know just from like listening to other stuff that Neil Druckmann had done. I know he had mentioned like this was something like that he was very interested in fleshing out, because they never really did it in the game. Whether it happened through like a comic book or some sort of origin story, whatever the deal was, that they never really told this part, and we never really knew. Did you guys kind of clue in on that right away?
Yeah.
That it was the reason for the immunity?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I think it's so funny how in like pretty much every unveiling of someone being bit, nobody's actually aware they're bit until after it.
I know, right?
Like it's like, do we not have sensitivity, or are these like, are they just like gumming you that you don't even feel it? Like why?
I mean, to
Exactly.
be fair,
Why
she
are
That's
people not be like,
pushed a
oh, I
baby
just
out
got
and
bit.
notice.
Sure.
Yeah, she
Still
just pushed a
unaware.
baby on the nose. You're right. You're a good call. Good call. But I completely agree with you. All these bites, and it's not like it's an obvious motion. Like they're always going for their face, and then suddenly they'll like look at their like I said, in this case, their leg, and you're like, what the
Yeah.
like, but her head was never down there.
Like it's fine.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
show
Yeah.
me the person actually getting bit, and then show them beating them up afterwards. Like
Yeah. I wonder if there's some sort of like weird thing they can't cross with people getting bit. I wonder if that's like a
I don't know.
no, it's not, because I've seen Walking Dead.
But like yeah, for the motion to be like her face would have been like crotchal area
Yeah.
before scooping up to trying to bite her. It's just
Yeah, who knows? I mean, it every single one has been a bit
Like
weird,
that,
right?
yeah.
Even like when Ellie and Riley, like all of them, have always been like, surprise, there's a bite here, and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of interesting. I did like I do want to talk about this, like the reason for the immunity. It was very interesting. I did like that. I did like that they finally showed this. Because this is obviously isn't in the last episode of The Last of Us. They just they gloss over it. So I love that we got sort of how this became. At this point, then Marlene, we see Marlene again and some others. We presume are Fireflies at this point, obviously, because of how far back this is. Ellie being what did I say, 13? 14? I can't remember. 13.
Yeah.
So 13 years before. They see the broken window. They realize something's gone on in this house. They were supposed to meet up with someone. The door's locked, the window smashed, blah blah blah. They see the broken and they move upstairs. Anna, so this is where we get the name drop for Ashley Johnson's character, which was Anna. So Anna was Ellie's mom. That we finally got that sort of lineage done. They go through the door and they see Anna with Ellie, and she's holding a knife to her neck, which is kind of crazy. Kind of crazy.
Kind of hardcore, you know?
Kind of hardcore. But I mean, if she was going to turn, she was going to offer, like, just done.
Ugh.
I mean,
I respect it.
I respect it too. I mean, she was
And
ready to.
It's your baby.
It's her baby. You gotta do what you gotta do. So goes to the door, holding a knife to her neck. Starts asking that. So right away she goes kind of into like parent mode, right? She's like, you need to feed her. You need to feed this baby. Take her with you. She's hungry. Needs to be fed. She right away did mention as well that she didn't feed it, obviously, like breastfeed it or anything because of transferring that over, which I think was kind of smart for them to also say in there. Take her to Boston, she said, and get someone to raise her. Marlene right away says no, she's not going to do that. And then she kind of goes on this rant about saying like how, you know, we've known each other our whole lives, blah blah blah. Kind of guilts her and reminds her who she is. I'm not some nobody. Please take care of this. So eventually she picks her up and then she says, you gotta kill me. And then once again, Marlene says no, which this one baffled me. I get like the kid also, like, let's be honest, you should take the kid.
Yeah.
Take the kid with you. But at least maybe I could see a world where you're like, you know, like it's really loud. We're in a post-apocalyptic thing. There's clickers, but at the same time, like it's also a kid, so you should take it with. But when you're asking someone who's going to be turning anyway, and they're like, you need to deal with this, and they're like, no. And I'm like, ooh, that's kind of like,
kind of not cool.
Yeah, that's kind of not cool. I was kind of like, you're kind of Marlene, you're kind of a d-bag. Like, what are you doing? I don't know. That's my thought right there. And so eventually she leaves, and of course Anna's screaming at her, and then Marlene does end up coming back in and shooting Anna, but it took again some coercion, and I'm sure this was probably because once again they're lifelong friends, and I'm sure there was some of that involved. But I also kind of thought too, like, you know, I don't know, it'd be tough either way. I'm just trying to think, like, I mean, if you got bit, I mean, I would do it if you asked me. I wouldn't be happy about it.
None of them are having like these painful turns either. Like,
well, because
like,
yeah, it's not. I don't think it's. Well, she was kind of like grunting there, right? She was kind of showing like signs of like, like.
I guess she doesn't want to be. The idea of her turning into a zombie is not fun.
No, I mean, and no one really knows if your brain is somewhat trapped in there and you're just being manipulated.
That would be awesome.
I mean, that would be
great.
That would be terrible. That'd be awful.
Would not have a good time with that one.
Yeah. All right, let's see what we got here. So they walk out. Now we go back to the present. Ellie is kind of sitting on the back of a truck. She's in a fog. Joel's trying to relate to Ellie in this scene.
How much time has passed, do you think? Sorry.
Since the winter?
Yeah.
Not long.
What do you think?
I'm gonna guess
a couple months. Things are green.
A couple months.
Yeah.
Things are green, but they're also not up in the. Well, I guess they're not really weren't really in mountains before. Yeah, it could be a couple months. I would say a couple months. I'd be okay with that. Are we okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Everyone, the Alliance agrees.
Yeah.
Okay, we voted through a couple months. It is.
Has
the council has agreed.
Gotten to a decision.
So Joel finds some Chef Boyardee and finds Boggle. And he kind of he's really trying at this point again. Like now we've almost seen you can kind of pick up right away because when we last saw Ellie, she was slicing the head off of was it David? I think it's David was his name. And she kind of had that freak out moment, that breakdown moment where she's like, she really had to get it gruesome. And now we see that she's kind of just gone. Like she's kind of stuck in this phase. There's this days, and Joel's really trying to break her out of it. So the roles have almost flipped here as we're from what we've seen. Talks about so they keep walking. Says if you want to beat me in anything, it'd probably be Boggle because he's just saying he's not good with words. Talks about finding guitar and teaching Ellie how to play, which once again, Ellie's still checked out, not paying much attention with what he's saying. They cut through a bill. Oh, this is where they get down. They get off the road. They're down between buildings, and Joel kind of says like, you know what we're gonna do, and then Ellie kind of guesses perfectly. We're gonna cut through the building. We're gonna find a skyscraper, have a look around, and then Joel says, nope. I found dynamite, and we're gonna go through the rubble. Like kind of just plays with her again. And then she says, what, really? He's like, no, we're going to cut through the building and go up a skyscraper and take a look around, which is, again, you just don't see Joel playing that person so far in this show. So, you kind of see it.
Yeah. You can tell he's trying to cheer her up.
Yep.
And it's just, you can just tell that a little bit more time has passed because they are much more open with each other.
They're very open. Yeah. But you also got to wonder at this point too, if there's been that many months and Ellie's still in this fog, like that'd be a long time to deal with someone in that state.
I know. Maybe you should have taken a couple of swings at the guy. I don't know.
Who knows? Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. So Joel keeps realizing at this point that she's like really super quiet. You can tell he's really going out of his way to just to try to lighten the mood a little bit, get her to smile. So at this point, for any of you who've played the game, we get a very video gamey moment. This is literally the entire first game. You'll do it 2 to 3 dozen times. You go, hey, I need to get up to that ledge. And then she's like, hey, you can boost me. So they go up to there and you boost her up, and then she throws a ladder down or knocks a ladder down and you go up. And that's literally the game mechanic.
Yeah.
20 some times.
Love it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's great. So literally we have here, I'll boost you up. So they get inside this building, boosts her up. And then right away when she's bringing the ladder down, she's like, oh, wait, something's happening. And she kind of throws the ladder down. And meanwhile, in the game, you're freaking out. You're just like putting the whole thing up there. And I remember reading the game the first time playing this being like, what's going on? What's going on? It's kind of a nice tense moment. But I think anyone who's played the game in this moment knew what was coming next.
I did.
You didn't?
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay, good. Yeah. I was going to say, anyone who watched me played on this channel here or played the game, you knew what was coming next. It was only a matter of time. So she runs off and she keeps saying, wow, look at this. This is crazy. All this stuff. So Joel becomes worried. He sets the ladder back up, climbs back up. And he's running after her. And here we have the scene everyone's been waiting for. The giraffe scene makes an appearance, which, it's one of those things you have to experience along with the rest of the show. I think, to completely understand, because you always tell people, like I remember telling people being like who weren't really into it, I'm like, there's this one scene with a giraffe, and I know it sounds stupid, but it's like a really like awesome moment, and you don't see it coming, and they're like, it's a giraffe, I don't get it. But I'm like, yeah, but you don't get it because like the characters, and so it's kind of cool to see how that plays out. What do you guys think of this scene?
It pretty much did it, right? I think.
I mean, they nailed it. It looked very similar to it. A real giraffe. I was kind of curious how they were going to do that. A real giraffe. They went to the Calgary Zoo, and apparently they built like a green screen, like a blue screen behind it, and it was a real giraffe.
What?
Yeah. That's what Neil was saying.
I didn't think it looked
100%. Oh,
there's behind the scene of it.
You mean with that brand new OLED, you couldn't see the pixels beyond the pixels?
Man, I could see that giraffe was just something weird about that giraffe.
Yeah.
No, I was actually thinking, I was like, man, that giraffe didn't look overly good. But I guess I don't look at real giraffe very often.
You need to go look at some real giraffes, man. You need to get out there.
Where are the giraffes at?
Don't you live like 10 minutes away from a zoo that has giraffes? I don't. Do they have giraffes? I don't know. I have no idea actually.
I don't think so.
Oh, you don't? Oh, shoot. Can we get some giraffes?
Assuming it's the zoo I'm thinking. I
The
don't
zoo in Guadalajara has no giraffes.
no
Oh,
giraffes.
man. All I want is to be able to have giraffes on my land.
That's quite a tall ask.
Is that allowed? Is that allowed? What does
Uh,
giraffe cost?
I'm sure it's fine.
Anyway, so this scene finally comes and we see, Joel kind of gets there and Ellie's there and Ellie's this is kind of the moment once again. Finally, he gets to see her smile, which you can see just brings joy to him. And you can tell like she's right away like, be quiet, don't move. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, I'm not gonna. He understands. He's like, oh, look at you, like you're smiling, you're happy. I'm not gonna shoo this thing away. He takes his gun, he puts it down, he goes and grabs some leaves and like kind of shows her like, look, it's hungry, like just feed it, it'll be fine. And as we're in the past, he might have been like, hey, Ellie, get away from that. Like,
Yeah.
don't do that. Like he was again just letting her be her at this point. Um, which is very cool. Like I said, this is a crazy moment in the game and in the show. And I know there's a few people at my work too that haven't seen it. I've told them to watch it, and they're kind of going through it, and they watch it, and they're like, "Wow, that was a crazy moment." I'm like, "I know, right?" Anyway,
Giraffes, man.
yeah, giraffe, simple giraffe. Although I was wondering, they kept going up and up, and I'm like, "Holy, how tall is this thing?" But it was fine. So once again, it leaves, it walks away. She runs up to the stairs, to the roof, or it's like I think it's a roof. Yeah, it's the roof of this building. And we look out and we see a bunch of giraffes in this place. And it's kind of an overgrown sort of park. It's a baseball it's a baseball park, ballpark. That's the way I'm looking. Oh my count.
What's
I'm just
that?
losing it today. I
Close
even have
enough.
it written in here, ballpark. But it's all overgrown and everything. And then this is where Joel says, well, they have the scene. They frame it the same way as the first episode. And he says, well, was it everything you hoped for? And then Ellie says, it's had its up and downs, but you can't deny that view. And then, so once again, that's a recall to the first episode, except for once again, the roles are reversed. The lines have been switched around. This part in the game, let me tell you, it is just heartwarming beyond all belief. And I think they nailed that here. I really think they did. Like, they didn't overdo it. They just spent their time. It was kind of like that relief that they tend to do. And you just know it's going to end. Because it's The Last of Us. And that's what they do.
It's true. There's not happy moments don't last more than 3 minutes.
No, you soak them in when they come.
And even that, he killed it while sprinkling in why he has a bullet in his head. But
well, that's later. That's later.
What was it?
At this point, they say it, and Joel kind of says they don't need to go any further. He's realized he's trying to give her an out. He says they don't need to go any further. They can go back to Jackson. And this is where Ellie kind of has like that infamous sort of like talk and the speech thing about everything they've done to this point can have been for nothing. And she will go anywhere with them once she's done. She says the moon, on a sheep farm. They can go back to Jackson.
Yeah.
She'll go wherever he wants, but they need to see this through. And so they say okay, and then she walks off, and then they kind of transport back down to ground level where we're walking through a tunnel, and they come across an old army camp. This isn't a Fedra camp. This is an old army camp. And he says he used to be in one for his head wound. And at this point, they sit down, and he comes clean about this, this scar that he has on his face that was told about someone else shot. And he says, no, actually, that was my shot. And he says once Sarah died, so his daughter, he just couldn't see the point anymore. And obviously he was trying to take his own life. But he said when he did it, he flinched, the bullet missed, and he was still alive. He said, and it was a flinch.
I didn't remember that in the game. Was it in the game?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
No, this part wasn't in the game. And this is where he says, I think Ellie said, no, did he say time heals all wounds, or does Ellie say that?
Ellie says that.
I think Ellie says time heals all wounds. And then he says, well, it wasn't time that did it. And he stares at Ellie, and it was like a really just genius writing.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, you
cutie.
Oh, yeah. Basically saying like, now you're family, right? Like you're the one who saved me. He's really opening up again. Like I said, this is now Joel is all in, right? This whole going back to them in the vehicle, yelling at her, saying, you're not family. Like my brother's family, you're not family. And this is completely different, right? I love the colors while we're going here. So the what are we at now? Oh yeah, so he says it didn't work out, and at this point they're like, okay, we got to keep going. So they get up and they move, and then says Joel's like, you know what we should do at this point? we should. He's in the mood for some good old puns. So she comes back out and she pulls her puns out once again. He's just doing everything that a good father would do. He's adopted this daughter now.
Seriously.
And at this point, it works different here than it does in the game. In the game, you go through a tunnel and it's a whole thing and it's water. And Ellie ends up taking water in because she can't really swim.
Oh,
And then he ends up like, they get seen that way. Here you see them walking. Suddenly in the background, you see some figures and they flashbang them.
Oh yeah.
So for all I know is for Call of Duty, for at least 3 seconds, they were dazed.
Yep.
And it looked like it landed
After
really
that,
close. So I'm
they're
mad.
good.
Yeah, 3 seconds. So all you got was beaming white light. They take Ellie immediately and they just pistol whip Joel
He gets
so hard in the
punched
back of the head.
aggressive. And it's incredible
Oh,
how consistent that is in a game or in a movie
yeah.
where you just punch someone in the back of the head and they are dropping every single
Yeah.
time. But
And no lasting issues with that either.
I'm
He
always
just
impressed how quickly they get up afterwards. It's like I would be
yeah.
down for days.
I would have headache for like at least 3 hours when I wake up. And then
If you wake
my
up.
brain wouldn't be right if I wake up. Exactly. Dang.
Seriously.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's wild. It's wild. So at this point, Joel wakes up and boom, Marlene is there. We are inside of a hospital. At this point, Marlene starts like really congratulating him, like sort of playing into the whole like, holy cow, you're amazing. I lost half my crew getting across the country. How did you do it? And you guys did all by yourselves. It's crazy, all this sort of thing. Like she sort of starts talking him up, right? Like
Yeah.
what you
Yeah.
did was really crazy. And this is the part that also kind of bugs me. So she says how amazing he is and all this stuff. And then eventually he wants to see her, but can't because she's being prepped for surgery. She says brain surgery, which is also obviously the guy they say brain surgery. And you can I love this scene because you can see Pedro Pascal figure it out. He literally has like he sits there for a second and he literally figures it out and you can tell, like you can just see his face change. Like he knows what's going to happen.
Yeah. Didn't take him long.
So at this point, again, the doctor thinks that the cordyceps in Ellie have grown with her since birth and produces a chemical messenger that tricks the normal cordyceps into thinking it's one of their own. Doctor will remove these, multiply them in a lab, spread as a vaccine. I just put that in there because that's information that was never in the game about how this vaccine works. We just knew that it was going to kill her. We didn't hear any like details on it.
Right.
Sure.
So that's kind of interesting. It just kind of reaffirms again the idea that she was infected as a baby, and that's why it is what it is. Just to make sure it's crystal clear, I think, so that no one could really be like, well, maybe they didn't really confirm it. Joel realizes what will happen and says, find someone else. He gets up and immediately gets thumped in the stomach.
Again.
And just says, you don't understand. Marlene says she was there when she was born, kind of give her the whole thing. Like, I was there when she was born. I've been protecting her, blah, blah, blah. I had to kill her mom and now I got to kill the daughter. So she's also feeling a little bit of like remorse and stuff for this. Like it's
definitely a battle between the two for who cares more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, obviously, I think no doubt in my mind. I think, in my personal opinion, I think Joel cares more. I really do.
Yeah.
I don't think it's close. Marlene, I think while she cares, I think would do anything to just further whatever her goal is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she's
I mean, yeah.
the one who's thinking level-headed here, but
Well, on the fact, like, yeah, everything that we've seen from her so far, she's been forced or begged to have to do. It's like, okay, this is just kind of your MO. Like, yeah. So at this point, they bring him. Yeah, she says, okay, do you know what? He's not playing nice. He's being a little bit disturbed. And so she says, basically, bring him out to the highway and let him loose. Which I thought was a little bit weird once again, because they go from like saying he's crazy, he's the best, he's all this stuff to like, okay, just go dump him out in the highway. Like you're literally letting an enraged killer just go, like, you know what I mean? It makes kind of always one of those things.
well, I think she realizes pretty quick that whatever tires she's trying to pump, she's realizing that he pissed. So
Yeah, now he's angry. They walk down the hall to the stairs, and these and I think these guys are being jerks, right, about the whole thing. You can say whatever you want. They're just regular people, or trying to like they're every time he stops, they're kind of beaking him. They're not being like keep going. They're like get moved. Like they're playing the grunt.
Did I
For
say
sure.
stop or something like that?
Yeah. Did I say stop? Did I say blah blah blah? Did I say yeah? So
classic
Um,
video game sounding lines.
Yeah.
Exactly. Um, so they go down here, they go down the halls, and then Joel right away pulls a move on the stairs, kills them both, and boy does he go into Terminator mode. At this point, we are seeing full-fledged Terminator mode Joel. He has, he's got one ping. The rest of these dudes are all on 99, and he is not even like playing cover. He's just straight out gunning these boys.
Yeah, you did well. The
Um,
ping played a huge factor in that, I think.
Ping
Yeah,
played a
yeah.
huge ping advantage. Huge
He's
ping
got crazy
advantage.
desync going in his favor there. It was insane.
Um, my favorite part too is just the level of just balliness. He shoots the first person kill or kills the first person. The second guy gets knocked down, and he asks him, "Where is Ellie?" And he says, basically the guy just kind of says, "Never tell you." He says, "I don't have time for this." And just boom, just doesn't even think about it. Just puts him down. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is anger.
So he goes back upstairs, shoots a guy through a window. He drops immediately. And he's doing the whole thing where he's just basically shooting, dropping a mag, or the gun's empty, picks up the next gun, and just keeps moseying his way on through everybody. And there's a few, there's some ruthless ones. There's a guy who
Oh,
gives
yeah.
himself up,
Yeah, and he just
and
shoots him.
he's just like, nope,
Yeah, there's
right, which is kind of, yeah. He's just like, I'm not having it. He's like, I'm in rage right now.
it's
And
interesting. Like the music in the background is not
oh yeah, the
heroic
music.
music. It's like
No, 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 not
it's
at
like
all.
a downfally, like this is not
Yeah.
meant to be enjoyed kind of music.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like
yeah.
it's almost like the exact opposite of the giraffe scene, where he kind of had that enlightening sort of like, and this is like complete opposite. This is like he's lost it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool.
So he's dropping people, rage mode. I said that I put in here. This is also a very interesting way of shooting this scene. He was never seemingly in a rush. He was almost kind of like just like walking almost.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it wasn't like he was sprinting and like trying to go quick and look around. He was kind of just like walking and just
He
like
had that
overtaken with anger.
that horror movie bad guy walking and always keeping up with everyone. Kinda
Yeah,
just
exactly.
like, yeah, you're not stopping him, and it's just gonna be inevitable at this point. Like he's just going
Yep.
through.
Okay, so he comes down a long hallway with a bright light. So this is that for those, I mean, we're gonna end up seeing more of this hallway, I'm sure, several times going
Mm.
forward, but it looks a little bit different in the game, but not a lot. It's a little bit of a hallway. There's a light at the end, so you know someone's in there. He goes in there and he sees Ellie on the table, and she's been getting the gas. So she's been knocked out. They're just taking it off of her. Or no, it's still on her. They were just about to take it off of her. Joel says to unhook her, and the surgeon says he won't. You won't let him take her, and immediately, without even flinching, he just pops this
there
doctor.
was very
Yeah.
little
Like
hesitation. There wasn't
there was
hesitation.
he wasn't even looking at him in the eye. He was looking down at Ellie. Like he wasn't even making contact with the doctor. He saw Ellie and he was focused. And this dude just said nope, and he just went boom.
Yeah, and I wonder what the direction was from everybody in this one. They're like how's he supposed to act? Because like to me, he was like a possessed man.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was eerie watching him because he was just eyes glazed over, zero zero poops given.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was it was interesting.
It was such a
Well, because he
contrast from
was
the start of the episode where he's just
yeah
like all like trying to be, I don't know how you
trying to
would
be the
say it.
father, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Trying to be nice, trying to be like comforting and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. And like the other issue, I mean not the issue, sorry, but the other thing here too is just like I think you kind of see again the opposite. He says like he got back to being who he was before this because of Ellie. And now he can't lose another daughter, right?
Yeah.
So you almost saw like what it was like after Sarah, because we never really saw him once Sarah was dead. We just saw the her death, and then we didn't really see him after. We just know he did terrible things,
Right.
right? So you might be getting a glimpse into that world. I think is kind of what they're going for. But yeah, wild. I just thought that was so crazy. He just looks down, like he's not making eye contact with the doctor. Doctor says no, and he immediately, like it's like a 1 second thing. Nope,
Yeah.
boom,
No
done.
hesitation. Just
Yep. Yeah. Meanwhile, this is like I'm like, okay, this is a very important doctor who knows a lot.
Yeah. You're really screwing over a lot of people with that one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the doctor did pick up a knife. It's not like he could knock him out. So, or he could just shot him in the shin or something.
I mean, the
there
doctor's
was a
like,
couple of options.
There's a couple options, but I mean, the rage was fueling.
He was
Um,
deep in that rage.
yep. So he shoots the doctor and immediately tells the nurses to unhook her and turn around. One of the doctors here is what's the girl who plays Abby in the next game? That's
Oh,
the voice actor, one of the nurses. I
Oh,
can't remember her
cool.
okay.
name now. I'm drawing a blank,
I
but she's
can't.
one of them there. Um, so Joel picks her up, they unhook her, they turn around. Joel picks her up, and while he's leaving, the camera stops on the doctor. Kind of has a nice little hold on the doctor. What could this mean? I don't know. I guess you'll have to maybe watch the second season to figure some of this stuff out. Um, he goes into an elevator down to the parking garage. Marlene pops out, just like in the game. Once again, this all happens just like the game. And says, "How long will it be before she's ripped apart by infected or killed by raiders?" Joel says it isn't for Marlene to decide, and she says, "Well, neither is it for you." And she says Ellie would want to do this, and you know it. Um, which once again, I don't know how Marlene could conclude that. I don't think she's really spent that much time, considering she was raised by Fedra and then they took her out and then for like 2 seconds. You know what I mean? It feels kind of like a stretch once again. It feels like Marlene really pushing her rhetoric forward.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you do know Ellie would want to do that.
But is it
Sh-
just because like
Does
she's
she though?
kind of a suicidal character, isn't she? Like she feels like she has nothing for most of the game.
Yeah. But
So
I
like,
don't think
is it really what she wants?
you
She
mean
wants
Ellie?
to? Yeah, yeah. Or is it
Yeah.
because she just doesn't want to exist in this world?
Who knows? Like I mean, I think too, like I don't think, based on everything she said to Joel, I don't think it ever really crossed her mind that it would cost her life.
Yeah.
Because she's like, we'll do whatever you want after, we'll do this. She's always talking about plans after. I don't think at any point it had been relayed to her like, no, like this, there's a very real chance if we're gonna do this, it's gonna kill you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't think it's ever really been given to her like that. So I once again, I mean, we'll talk about it after with these choice. Well, actually, we'll talk about it right now. I think what solves this problem is literally give her the option.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
literally,
yeah.
like you can talk about right choice or wrong choice, but at the end of the day, you never even gave her a say in it.
They just
They just
assumed.
they knocked her out, did the tests, realized this is what they need to do, um, and prepped her for surgery. Right? Like
Yeah.
Right.
at no point did she have any say in what she was doing with her life or body or anything. Right? So
Yeah.
I don't, and this is one of those where it's funny because it's like it's funny from the standpoint of Marlene. Both characters are wrong. You can make the argument both characters are wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Like because they both didn't ask the main person. They're just assuming.
Yeah.
They're both making assumption. Joel's assuming because he loves her so much, they have this bond that she would want to stay alive and live a life with him. And Marlene's assuming that, hey, this is your purpose. You need to die to make this vaccine and save humanity. But at no point had any of them asked them. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's tricky because like when they were talking, like her and Joel were talking earlier, I kind of had the impression that she was willing to do kind of whatever it takes to make this work. Um, so I kind of had it in my head that she was fine to like do whatever she needs to do, whether it be giving up her life, whatever it was. But
Mm-hmm.
I think as you talk about it more, I think I agree with you that I don't actually think that she was fully aware of how heavy some of this could be.
Yeah. No, and yeah. So to me, it's one of those things where they do such a good job of walking the line in this game, and that's what makes it such a conversational game and now show is there's so much left up to interpretation because at no point did they do it's like the rest of the world, right? Everyone's just killing everyone, every little pot. No one really stops and talks for 2 seconds, like, hey,
Yeah.
maybe we should just like get together and work this out together, or maybe we should just talk this out. We're
Yeah.
kind of in a world where everybody's so distrustful of everyone else that it's shoot first, talk later.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're in the vehicle. Doctors say okay. Turns out okay. Oh no, that's for elevator. Yeah. Okay, so Marlene says neither do you. Marlene just tries to talk him off the ledge. At this point, you can kind of see Joel's he's not having it, right? He's still in rage mode. He just can't believe what was about to happen. And then it goes forward a little bit to him in a vehicle. So Marlene was talking, it just ends, goes to a vehicle and he's driving away and it shows Ellie in the back. Obviously they hang on Joel for a little bit because Marlene pleaded her case and then they don't show that Ellie's in the back seat right away. They're like, oh crap, did he actually leave her? Did he come to his like come to his senses, quote unquote, or did he still take her out? Um, so Joel says, Ellie wakes up at this point, and Joel kind of explains they were just running tests, and it turns out there's a lot more like you. He says, people that are immune. So obviously he's spinning this lie. Doctors couldn't make any of it work. And then at this point, it flashes back to the garage, and it shows Joel shooting Marlene.
In the same way as the
And
game.
yeah, in the exact same way as the game.
Which
Yeah,
is
this is
cool.
all like 1 for 1, which is very, very. I agree, very cool. He says because they know it didn't work, they stopped looking for a cure. And then she asks about her clothes and says the raiders attacked a hospital, so he couldn't grab her clothes or anything. And then she asks about Marlene, and he doesn't say anything, right? Because he put her down. And Marlene kind of getting shot was now at this point when he asks about Marlene, it goes back again to the garage, and she says, "Just let me go." Joel says smartly, to be honest, at this point, there's no going back. So he says, "You would just come after her," and then just puts her down,
Yeah.
which is 100% correct. I have no doubt in my mind that they would go after her or after him.
Yeah.
Yes, and they should.
Oh, well,
Because
I mean, they
Ellie
would.
is
I mean,
the
you,
literal cure to this entire thing.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, and they like, and it's 100% correct. And you know that they would. Everything we know about this game, people don't just move on.
Yeah.
Literally a society of people who have nothing better to do but to figure out where to go next, right? So he puts her down, and then it goes back to the car. They're driving away. It breaks down, and he says they have about a 5-hour walk. Once again, going back to earlier episodes where they talk about like, oh, it's just a 5-hour walk, except for this time, once again, it's Joel telling Ellie, not Ellie telling Joel, which is hilarious. Again, we have that flip. Starts talking about Sarah and kind of relating how Sarah and Ellie are very similar and how they would get along. Sarah liked to climb rocks. He starts comparing them even more. Says she was a bit girlier, she was taller, but she had a killer smile. And funny. And says that they would like you because you are also funny. So it's kind of interesting too, because I think at this point he doesn't really understand like Ellie being either lesbian or bisexual, however that works out. I don't think he knows any of this, and he couldn't kind of tell. I think she maybe looked into that a little bit too. I don't know. I thought maybe that was part of it, but maybe I'm reading too much. I don't know.
How do we feel about her or him like really comparing her? Like, do
That
we
was
think
weird.
that he's kind of like it almost seems to be on the verge of like a mental health thing where it's like she is my daughter kind of thing. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I
Did you get
think
that vibe at all?
no, I didn't get creepy vibe. He's pretty light about the whole thing. Like he threw some jokes in there too, and I can't remember. Something like, oh yeah, the smile thing was like, oh, she had a better smile. Like, again, no disrespect. Like she was right. Like he's kind of doing like little jabs at her. So I don't think I never got creeped out or anything or weird vibes from it personally, but I could see maybe. I think because we've had so many conversations about family, about her Ellie expressing she's looking for family. Like
Mhm.
she hasn't explicitly said it, but she was very disappointed when he obviously said she wasn't family and all this sort of stuff. So to me, I don't really put too much into it. I don't know. What do you think, Polka?
I just thought it just was weird. It's like
Okay.
he's really sitting on it. Like the wasn't very subtle of him to try and make those connections. Like it was kind of just like it's like, dude, like we all know that this is now like you've kind of replaced, not replaced, but like that's kind
But I
of how
think
it
he
was like
also
it's like it just felt weird. I don't know. I don't know how to explain
mm,
why,
huh,
but
that's interesting because I never got a weird vibe from this one. I just assumed I thought they both had assumed at this point that that's where their relationship
right.
was basically an adopted daughter situation. Um, in my head, that's where I had them at this point, but maybe not. I mean, I'll have to do some research this week. Maybe ask people who hadn't played the game to
Yeah,
what they thought of that
I
scene.
don't
You
think
know what
there's
I mean?
anything, and I really don't think there's anything weird behind it. It
Oh
was
no, I don't
it
think there is
was
either.
just
Yeah, like it
interesting how
wasn't
he
like
was talking
anything.
about it.
I was like, I can't
Um,
believe. Like it was just
yeah.
was weird to be watching. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I wasn't like, oh,
So
he's weird. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's all good. Yeah. So they find Jackson to get back to there. Obviously, Ellie starts talking about the first time she killed someone again. So obviously going back, and she says about the time she had to kill Riley, which is what we saw in the Left Behind episode. And saying that that's how it all went down. But she also had to kill Riley, then Tess, then Sam. So you can kind of tell she's working up to something. That all these people have died on their journey, and Joel kind of says, like, sure, all those people are gone. He says, but if you just keep going, like, just keep going, you'll find something to fight for. Which again is his experience, right? Like he was lost and now he found Ellie, and it's kind of something for him to fight for.
Mhm.
Is how he sees it. And at this point, Ellie asks for him to swear that everything he said about the Fireflies was true, and he obviously says yes, it was true. And Ellie says, "What's her final word? Okay,
Okay.
or something like that."
Okay,
Says
yeah.
okay. And she says it exactly like how it's in the game. So all of us who played it and had to sit there were kind of like she says okay, and then immediately the game ends and the show ends. But it wasn't a very convincing okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's one of those where like it happened, they said it. Do I believe
Does
it?
anyone? Yeah. Yes.
Does anyone believe this? So, and that ends the episode exactly like in the game. Bada bing, bada boom. What do we feel? What do we feel, guys?
I feel.
I
What do we think about the episode?
It was good. I enjoyed it. But it was exactly what I was expecting to happen. Like pretty much
Mhm.
to a T. So I wasn't there wasn't anything surprising. I was kind of just like, oh yeah,
Kind
this
of
is
just
exactly
the
what I
way I
was.
expected.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing. It didn't have
No.
such an impact because you knew. Because most
Once
of the rest
again,
of the stuff I didn't know. Like I knew the
yeah.
ending of the game because I've
Oh,
only
okay.
played two, and
Yep.
I watched a bit of you, but I didn't watch a lot of it.
Yeah.
So a lot of the middle episodes I could be like surprised by, but the ending I knew what was happening, so
Yeah.
it was kind of just
Well,
like, oh yeah,
I think generally this episode, like once again, we were very concerned on the time constraints on it, and the fact that you spend like 10 to 15 minutes again before, like in a pre scene, an opening up scene, um, with Ashley Johnson, like that was one of those things too. I kind of like because I had to stop and I don't know what happened, some sort of distraction while I was watching, so I knew I was about 10 15 minutes, and that was about the scene. And I was like, okay, now we got half an hour to get
to the
to get
hospital.
everything else in, to get
Yeah.
to
and
the
out of
hospital.
hospital,
Exactly.
yeah.
So I knew time was tight. Once again, it moved very quick. It moved extremely quick. But it also does in the game as well. Like if you, it really does in the game as well. Once you get to spring and you get through the tunnel's a bit of a section. But from the moment that Ellie almost drowns and Joel's panicking because in the game, they don't get flashbang. She goes in the water, like I said before, and unconscious. And so Joel's kind of giving CPR. And meanwhile, you hear people up on top being like, "Hey, there's people here," and they have the gun on. And they're like, "Don't move." And
Mhm.
obviously Joel's like, "No, like she's gonna die," so he doesn't stop moving.
Mhm.
I like the tension that I think in the game a little bit more with that than
Yeah.
just like, oh, here's some figures, the flashbang that were stalking or heard them or whatever.
Mhm.
But I also like that it's a lot more realistic because that whole under tunnel water scene felt very Uncharted to me.
That's fair.
Always like, oh, like you're
Yeah.
in a bus and there's water and now you're going underwater and you're grabbing Ellie and you're getting out and it just felt very like Uncharted to me. Like, oh, what other magical thing's gonna happen that they get out of this unscathed, right? So, um, yeah, I don't know. It was a good episode for sure. They didn't do many changes. They did the beginning, obviously was a change and some of the minor things, but nothing really too major. Um, but generally, again, it's a lot. It's another great, in my opinion, another really great episode. Just not perfect.
Yeah.
Kind of where I'm at. Where are you at, Rostridge?
Uh, I would agree it's not perfect. I don't know. I mean, they're kind of going with what they're given, and like there were some people who I was reading little articles on, and they're like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
they should have like if you didn't like the ending, it's like you can't complain about any of the writing really because it's like they're not working with a blank piece of paper. They're working with what the game has given them.
Yeah.
So it I forgot the feeling
Yep.
that I felt until I watched this episode. I was like, "Oh yeah, this is the exact shitty feeling I felt when I
Yep.
played the game."
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
Like this game is always it always or this game I guess and show it wraps up so quick. Like even though this one isn't nearly as long as part 2 of the game, um like the ending part goes so quick. Like I feel like you spend so much time in spring and fall, and then winter is a big thing as well, and then spring just kind of like boom boom you're through it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I get the same feeling here as well. Like I said with the whole Marlene thing too, like for me it was kind of I don't know. It just seems so all over the place again, and I get that feeling with the game too where she says the same thing. Oh, holy cow, you achieved something that, we lost half our guys doing this, getting across the country and doing all this and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
And then right away,
yeah.
she kind of just
She's trying
turns
to
on him again.
butter him up kind of thing.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if she
Yeah.
wanted him to join them, or I don't know what the deal is there, but, it was just interesting, right? It's just another weird sort of play on her part. I didn't really get it. She was all over the place. But I guess maybe she wasn't also anticipating the relationship they had built on that travel, but
Yeah, because
I don't know.
like he didn't want to take her at the start, right? That's the last she saw them was when he was like,
Yeah.
"No, I don't want to do this." Like,
But I mean, you
holding
think
a
about,
gun to
okay,
her head or whatever, and just like
so yeah. So we had fall, winter, and spring. So it's been a long time. You
it
got
has
to
been a
think if
long
they're
time.
still
Yeah,
alive and together,
Mm-hmm.
that probably not going to be like they're probably going to be somewhat of somewhat have bonded on something.
Oh yeah,
Otherwise, they wouldn't have lasted this long, right? Like
all the
I don't know.
they've been through so much stuff.
Yeah, yeah. It is interesting. I mean, and Marlene, I think Marlene did Marlene know Joel beforehand, or did she just know Tess?
I think she knew.
I can't remember.
I feel like I thought she knew him too.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I think she should have expected how maybe he would. I don't know. Maybe not.
I mean,
We're reaching here.
if his demeanor before meeting Ellie was the same as him in like the hospital, right?
Yep.
Where he's just like an emotionless person, besides with Tess, right? Like,
Murderer.
Yeah. I mean, he's very much a hired hand. The last time she saw him, right? Like he had, like you said, he had no emotions.
because
He was just doing jobs.
Yeah, doing the
Yeah.
smuggly stuff and whatever else.
Yep.
smuggling and
Dealing drugs.
doing drugs, drinking.
Yep.
Like,
What a mess.
Yep. What a mess.
what a
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I think it was good. I have no qualms about the episode.
no, it definitely.
I'm
And I
really
say the
happy
same
with
thing
it.
too. Like for those people who are another issue I heard once again, and it's been the same thing I brought up the last few episodes. Is right away we got people saying, "Well, it's great. It's another episode with very little infected. They're not really a thing." But at the same time, like I said, you just other than the places between the story, you don't really have a whole lot to do with infected in this game. And so I don't know. I'm happy with it. And we can talk about what's happening, what they've dropped for next time, as far as stuff for next season, later. But like, there wasn't a whole lot of that in here. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of those sort of things. So I don't know.
I will say, as someone who's complained earlier about they're not being infected in earlier
Yep.
episodes, I did not have that issue with this one because we still like there was still stuff that happened besides
Yeah.
outside of character growth, development, relationships,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. Like that whole Joel going through the hospital scene happened. Like I'm not like, oh, there's got to be infected. Like it was something happened. It was tense, exciting, and all that
Yeah.
too. I'm not.
It
It's
was.
so yeah. I can understand people complaining this episode that there wasn't infected. That's ridiculous. I'm happy that with what we got. Like
Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Let's go to at this point. Let's give a review to these things. Let's give a review score. Anyone want to volunteer to go first?
hold on, let me wait until see the previous.
Oh, you want me to bring it up? Okay,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
bring
yeah.
it up here,
I just
folks.
wanted to see
Let's
what
boom
I've been
right
doing so
there.
far.
Before we get started as well, I mean, it is interesting to show too. I was looking at some stats and stuff for this. The show keeps growing every week, so it's going to be very interesting to see what we get
There was a
further
ton
on.
of viewers, like, and
Yeah.
it's been really consistent throughout pretty much the whole game, like,
Oh yeah, for
or the
sure. Like
whole show.
so episode 1 had 4.7, episode 2 5.7, 3 6.4, episode 4 7.5. Episode 5 is a bit of a weird one because that's the one that came out on Friday because of the Super Bowl.
Yep, yep.
So it had more time, but that one had 11.6 because it had more time. Episode 6 had 7.8. Episode 7 had 7.7. So like a little drop, not really worth anything. Episode 8, we cracked into the 8 millions, and episode 9 is 8.2 million. So it kept getting more and more and more every single episode. So the growth is happening. Like you're seeing it, which is very cool.
Yeah.
As opposed to everyone checking out the hype and being like, well, this sucks. And then they'd fall off. They checked out the hype and they kept coming back.
Yeah, it
So-
kept viewers pretty much the whole time, which is
Yeah.
pretty
Which is very cool.
crazy,
Yep.
especially for how much we complained about it, or I complained about
Oh,
it.
Dude, I'm with
For
you.
sure.
I'm right there with you.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. I was almost not opposite, but I definitely was not in the same for those ones who gave lower scores. Like we look at the episode 7 and the episode 8, which was like episode 7, you guys really didn't enjoy a whole lot. Poka was mid on episode 8 as well. It is interesting to see like the fact that it kept growing.
Yeah,
It kept growing. Like
that's great.
people, yeah. No, 100%. Okay. Sorry, did anyone volunteer and want to go first?
I can go first. I'm good with
You want to go
that.
first?
Yeah, I'm
Living
gonna
the
go.
life. Oh, okay.
I'm gonna go with a 9 on this one.
Ooh, a rare Poka 9.
Yeah.
I need to put like a clap emoji. Why is your thing
I'm
moved?
like encroaching on your space here.
Yeah, I was like, what in the world happened here?
Soon
I'll fix that on
I
the
will be the permadirt.
soon I will be the one. I'll fix it as we go. Anything you want to say with that review? Why you came to that score?
I think if I hadn't seen the show,
Mhm.
it could have been a 10, and that's the only
Okay.
reason why is because I'm not.
Nothing surprised you.
Nothing surprised me. I wasn't, and it's good. I'm glad that they are staying true to the game because you have all these other video game shows, movies that just absolutely they try and change it and it just gets real mucky. So
Yeah, real mucky, real quick.
I'm happy that they stuck with it, even though I'm not surprised or as intense into certain things as it would be for a first time viewer. But
Mhm.
I'm still giving it a 9 because it was all good. Like
It was all good. Perfect. Okay, I like it. I'll mark it down for a 9 here, so I'm gonna put it. Okay. Ostrich, you want to go next or last?
You go first.
Okay, I have it at 8.5. I already had that marked in, so I had that before Poka had. I should have put up on the screen so you guys have seen it. I have it at 8.5. Very
Rare.
good, very solid. Like I
That's
said,
rare.
great episode. That's about my average 9s and 8s,
No, but, like,
0.5s.
for-
It's
Poka to rule it higher than
above
you.
Yeah.
yeah, that is true.
I think once again that just comes from, like he said earlier, that maybe he hadn't seen as much of it recently as I had. So some of the details I was like, okay, like, it's all very cool and all. And to be honest, I love that they did the sequel the pre, the Ashley Johnson stuff, the Anna
That was cool.
beforehand. I
Yeah.
thought that was really cool. I think if they wouldn't have had that and they just played it through like a regular episode like the regular part of the game, I probably would have gone 8. I think that actually helped
Yeah.
me because I was like, okay, they finally added something for me in this, and I like that. I like that they can go back in this world and answer questions that the game couldn't. And I think that's what this show serves, right? Like they need to flesh out parts of the parts of the game now that 10 years later that they realize, oh, I wish we would have done this, I wish we would have done that.
Yeah.
They can do that, and that's what I've really been appreciating about this show: the fact it stays close to the material, but it deviates just enough to be like, oh, that's different, or oh, that's really cool. I never thought about that. So 8.5 for me on this one. Again, another great episode. It has all the stuff you'd expect if you played the games, but it also, I would say, didn't fix the problems I had a little bit and his game's amazing. It makes me sound like such a shrill by saying problems. It really isn't. This game's friggin' amazing.
Game's
You need to go
terrible.
play it.
No one should ever play it.
But it didn't fix any of the main issues I have with the ending of the game, with how fast it moves and sometimes how unbelievable it gets with that. But at the same time, it's like I said, it's just still really, really great. So 8.5.
I think that's
All right, awesome.
I think that's fair. Like, we're spending an hour critiquing every episode. Like, if we nitpick and stuff, like I think that's totally a
Oh,
normal thing to do. I
I've
still love the show, but
oh my
I'm gonna
gosh, I do,
complain
yeah.
about it because you're giving me an hour to complain. So
Yeah, it's just like every review thing, right? You're
yeah,
always kind of like they always find stuff, even though um it goes the same thing with games, right? A perfect 10 out of 10 game doesn't mean it's flawless.
Mm-mm.
Doesn't mean it's perfect, right? There still will be glitches. There'll still be all sorts of, there'll still be problems with coding. A game might crash. It might be a Skyrim situation where nothing works right on PlayStation, right? Like, you know what I mean? But you can tell the experience is there, and that's kind of what this is.
yeah, give it a 10 for me. No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa!
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It's a
Ostrich is
9
handing
for
out
me.
2 10s. Okay,
It's a
then
9 for me.
gotcha.
I think it's right where it should be. Again, I have not felt things and emotions like I have in the game when I played it, and then again when I saw it in the show.
Mm.
That confliction, like at the end of it, like it went off. Me and Mrs. Wrangler or Miss Wrangler were talking about it, and she wasn't. She said, "Don't talk to me for at least 20 minutes," because she needed to really
Mm-hmm.
process what was going on. Because I was just being a
Yeah.
devil's advocate and a dick about it all. But
Mm-hmm.
I was just saying, I was like, "What would you do?" And I
Yeah.
think
What would
that
you?
it brought about such a good conversation.
It
I think they
is.
did a really good job of it. They don't make you feel like Joel is the good guy at any part of this,
Mhm.
but somehow they still make you be like, I understand why he did it. Like he sees this girl as
Yep.
his daughter, and he didn't get his goodbye with her. He didn't get any closure with her.
Yep.
And then it begs the question: is what would people do?
Well, and that is, like I said, that's what makes for such a perfect round table.
I know.
The whole ending of this game makes for such perfect debate and talking, just because of, like you said, he didn't get closure. And same thing. I talked at my work again with, once again, the people who didn't know the game, didn't know what was coming, and I asked them, and right, you got kind of a mixture. You got a lot of people being like, no, like Joel was 100% right. That
Oh,
was the right thing to do. And I had some people being like, no, probably for the long term and thinking beyond, like you shouldn't have thought that way. So just like with everything else, you kind of get that split, right? Where do your feelings lie? Where do you,
uh,
maybe as a
the
person,
coworkers who said that he made the right decision, are they? Do they have a family?
no. Well, I mean, like they came from, but they don't have like a immediate family.
Like, what
Like
would you
like
do
one,
if
yeah,
if that's your kid?
that's
Like,
your kid. I know.
and there's no argument that Joel is the most selfish person. Like, that's just what this episode was. Like, he was just a selfish dude. He didn't ask
Yeah, you can mean,
anybody. He did exactly what he wanted to do because he's
yeah.
like, I can't live without this girl. But I don't know. It's
But once again, like, what do you do in this situation, right? The most obvious thing would have been to wake her up, have Joel present, and let her make the choice. That would have made it really difficult. It would have made a difficult scene if they did that, where they had to say goodbye. That would have made for a crazy scene,
yes.
like where she's like, "No, I want to do this," and he's like, "Wait, what?" Like,
But
and then if he still, that would have been, you know what I mean? Like, it would have been wild to play that out,
I think
but
like deep down, Joel already knew her answer, and he probably knew that she would give up, or not give
I
up, but
think so
like be
too.
willing to give up her life to save the entire world. And so he's like, when
Mm-hmm.
he didn't even entertain that option because he's like, I'm not letting this girl wake up and give this superhero option that's gonna destroy me.
Yeah.
So I think he knew her answer all along, and he's just like, there's no shot I'm hearing it. So
Yeah. There's no shot going back to that.
Yeah.
And that could be true. And that could be 100% true as well. That could be, I mean, like I said, it's all left open. And that's the genius of the writing
and
here.
it's a good left open. Like
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
you're not leaving us on some stupid cliffhanger that
Yeah.
there's
You're
just
like,
like
ooh.
not enough information at all. Like We know exactly what went down, and now we just don't know if she believes him. We don't know if that's going to be the thing that kind of destroys them.
Yeah. Okay. Do you um let's talk briefly. I know we're already going pretty long here. The show was the show part was quick this time when they're talking is much longer. It's a nice little change of pace. Some things that were mentioned about season 2. So if you guys don't want season 2 stuff again spoiled, just like we've done every other time, just mute the stream right now. Or if you're on YouTube, just pause it until you've played The Last of Us Part 2, and then come back if you haven't played that.
Mm.
But we will be going forward here. So things that I think Neil himself said. I believe this all comes from him. So we learned that season 2 will be different. There'll be lots of changes from the game. Apparently, they are going to do a little bit more divergent stuff to make it work, which I'm not sure how I feel about that, but we'll see how that plays out. These guys are geniuses, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. We know Bella Ramsey will return as Ellie. There was some talk at some point that wasn't going to happen because obviously, for those of you we're going forward here, Ellie does age. She does age like a regular human being. She's not Benjamin Button, but it does go forward a little ways here, and she gets quite a bit older. So they weren't sure if Ellie was going to be able to do that because obviously her being very young and all this stuff. It will have apparently a lot more infected in it. They are going to put more infected in there. It will cover The Last of Us Part 2's story, but it won't cover the entire second game.
Oh.
So I know I was talking with, again, the same coworkers. I was saying, like, I don't know how they're going to do that all in one season because it's so much stuff.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how they do it. My guess, I don't think it'll be this way, but I want them to do it this way, is I think they will do the Ellie story and then do the Abby story. Maybe each season. So they might split it up into 2.
Interesting.
Like that. Could you, like, so I'm thinking, like, at the end of the first season, like, you might have the end of the first season be like, they get attacked. They get attacked by Abby suddenly at the cinema, and Jesse dies. That would make for like an impactful character dying. It'd make for an okay ending.
Oh,
To be
man,
like,
I do not remember that game very well.
Yeah, so basically he plays Ellie up until for 2/3 of the game, right? And then you end up killing all of Abby's buddies at the aquarium.
Right.
Like the pregnant Mel and all these people. And then they go back to the theater where like their home base is, and Abby tracks them back there and ambushes them. And it's just one of those things where, again, Jesse gets just popped right in the head when it walks through. And Abby and Lev also put what's his name, his brother, Joel's brother, Tommy. Yep, shoots him with an arrow, and so he's down on the ground, and Ellie kind of gives up. And then I think at that point where she goes like this, she like kind of gives up, has her hands up in the air. Might be an interesting place to leave. It's a major cliffhanger. I also think, I don't know, I'm gonna guess here. None of this is true. I also think they're gonna be season 2 and 3 will be a much smaller gap between them. I think they might shoot them both. I think so that there's not a big gap because it's kind of a run-on season.
Right.
I don't know if they might have a smaller gap. Like it might only be like a half-year gap type thing. It might come out in spring and the next one comes out in fall, or only 1 year. It won't be more than that. Because I think we're about to have a 2-year gap minimum here. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? It's about to...
I just hope they don't run out of stuff. Like I don't want to see them going ahead of the games like they did with
No, they
Game of
won't.
Thrones.
I have no doubt in my mind that they won't do that. Because I think they're doing this one. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but I think they're doing this for a couple of different reasons. One, I think without a doubt, Last of Us Part 3 is being made. I'm very comfortable in saying that, obviously, at this point, now that we have the HBO machine running. Definitely that's in the works. 2, this buys them a lot of time. Naughty Dog is not exactly pumping games out every 2 years here.
No.
It's like a 4-year cycle, 5-year cycle, 4-year cycle mostly. So they need some time to get this game done. So this buys them time because they have 2 seasons as opposed to having 1 season and running out of material. I think that's why they're doing it this way. I don't know what you guys kind of think.
That's good. I mean, it's and like you always want to have more content, right? Like it seems that it actually held on a lot better than I thought it would in terms of viewership. And so if you need more viewers, like you just keep on pumping out seasons. But I don't think they're also going to they're not going to make a dumb decision
No.
like other shows have done in the past. You'd like to
I mean,
think,
it's H.
yeah, you'd like to think HBO is pretty smart with it.
Yeah, I think Neil has proven too that he can also help. He like him and Craig are very capable at taking the script and moving it over. I
Yeah,
think they're very capable of that. I think they're gonna be very again smart about what I think we're gonna get some new stuff in here too. And I think that like if you think okay, we got 2 8 episode seasons. Like if they just cut it off at 8, like a regular mini series,
right.
um, I think they could easily do that.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
fine
let's
with
see what
8,
else.
especially with like I overall I think the pacing was just a little weird in this season. I've already complained about the throwback episodes, but even
Oh,
the
I
time
love it. I
length,
love the
like the
pacing.
time was like to have a
The time was a bit all over the place.
45-minute season finale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People don't want that. Nobody wants that.
I do think the season finale needed to be a little bit longer. I
Yep.
not saying once again, it moved real quick and I keep saying it. This is you want to be shorter rather than longer. You don't want people sitting there and then taking their phone out because something like it's a dull moment,
Right.
right? You want to keep them in it. So shorter is better than longer, but at the same time I do feel like there was enough stuff there that they could have pushed it to 55 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, right? Like there was stuff there that they could have done. But at the same time, I also appreciate that it wasn't slow. In my head, this last episode wasn't slow. It was just a
No, not
freight
slow at
train.
all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when it's 45
Um.
minutes, it doesn't have a chance to be slow.
Yeah. Okay. Another note: filming will start later this year. That we knew already. New kinds of infected are coming. So we know from the game there is other kinds of infected. There's the stalkers and the big rat, weird looking thing that's like not rat, but it's like a bunch of different dudes melted together in the bottom of the one of the original infection zones, so one of the oldest sort of infection zone areas. Um, Apparently they are going to expand upon the tendril system. So that whole idea
Mm.
of the communication, they're going to expand upon that,
That's
which
cool.
I think is really cool because we didn't really get a whole lot of
No, that
that,
wasn't
but
talked about in the
also
game.
well, it wasn't in the game at all. But I also think that only becomes useful in a metropolis setting. You know what I mean? Like in a city setting, or it's not really out in like well, there's not going to be tons of these dudes out in the middle of the forest, right?
Yeah.
Like they're going to be in these big centers, like we often see. Like they're in cities because that's where everyone is. It seems so.
Yeah.
Um, it makes sense that there's more there, and we really weren't in a city from, you know, the first third of the show was, but after that it really wasn't. So I think we're going to see more of that. Being heavily based in obviously Seattle, a big city. I think you're going to get a lot more use cases for it, especially when you got a lot of those scenes where you're like underground and some of those things and it's just overrun with this stuff. It'll be very
Yeah, it's
interesting to
got
see.
definitely potential for some cool stuff.
Mhm.
I don't remember the game at all, so I really
Yeah,
need to
you need to give that
replay it.
another play.
I didn't even beat it actually, which is
You
my first
you need,
problem.
you didn't beat it?
I know.
Am I ruining stuff for you?
Nope. I made it really far. I don't know why I stopped. Definitely
So
wasn't the end of it.
am I going to ruin stuff for you if I tell you the ending?
Yeah.
Oh, damn it.
So please
Okay.
don't.
All right.
I mean,
You
it's
need to
kind
get
of my
that done
fault
then.
for
You and Mrs. Wrangler need to sit down and get that done.
I gotta get her to sit and watch that much game. That might be tough.
Just make it fun, you know? Could see the inclusion of spores as a possibility. Could bring the spores back. Abby and Ellie changing perspectives is a possibility as well. So that kind of pokes a hole in my theory right away. We are going to see side character stories just like we had with Bill and Frank. So WLF, Seraphites, Jackson, all that sort of thing. Release date, like I said, 2024, 2025. There's going to be time skips. Joel and Ellie's relationship post season 1, the ending will be heavily explored, which obviously if you played the game, that's what most of the game is kind of about. And obviously Ellie's violent path because of it, right? Like what she's done.
Mm,
So some of those things were said like that, which is very cool. Very cool.
that's crazy how much
Um,
he talked about it.
he did like they asked a lot of really good questions on that kind of funny podcast. I have to maybe link it so you guys can check it out. But he said a lot of really really cool things. They asked good questions and he, to his credit, answered them, which is very very cool. He also said, I'm trying to get the quote he had. It was put in the in our chat as well, or my chat in our Discord about what he said. But there was one here, and the same dude that tweeted it. I can't remember. It's all good.
Ooh.
But yeah, lots of stuff. I get super excited. I'm glad this show hit. But is there any sort of final things you want to say before we mosey on?
No.
Play part 2. I do think
yeah.
I can. I'm gonna say people play part 2. Not just Ostrich, but everybody. If you're in here, if you watch it later, play part 2. Don't save it. I think it's from my standpoint. I understand if you haven't seen the show, it would have been very new and kind of good that way. But I also think, based on the changes they're making, I never felt bored because I knew what was going to happen. They did a lot of enough changing that it all felt good to me.
No, you're just more of a fan of it because like it's like when
Yeah.
people read a book and then it becomes a show or movie. Like you still love it and you just
That's
want
a-
to see it do well. Like you just
Yeah, this is the first time I had that feeling. Can't say
Seriously.
I've read too many books and
I
then
know.
You can read? You can actually do that?
hey, they
I
make
think Harry
apps that
Potter
read
is
to
my
you.
only one.
Dang.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, Poke, any final closing thoughts on this?
No? No, I
All right.
got no thoughts.
Then,
empty.
without further ado, I mean, I had a blast doing this show. I mean, we still have to talk about maybe doing episode 1 or 2,
Yeah,
or
we
maybe
gotta get
some
through
fun
those.
things along the way. So I mean, they'll get uploaded later. But I mean, as for the actual, lineage, the order of everything, we have gone through them. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed them. And as always, you got Poka_TTV. They got Ostrichwrangler. Check
Hello.
these boys out on everything, Twitch and TikToks and everything like that. See what they're up to. And without further ado, I mean, we're gonna peace out.
We will.
See you guys next time.
That's it.
Season
Adios.
2. Season 2.